This time we are back on the hunt and hoping we can find some mega retro at our local Carboot.
Get pick up! Building the games room! Rush trips! Live game hunting!
Hey again folks, welcome back to another episode of Live Game Hunting, and once again we are hitting up the greatest Carboot in the entire world, Arminghall, just outside of Norwich. Now, the weather is getting worse, the mornings are getting darker, but as long as these Carboots keep going, I will keep hunting. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. Now, let's hit up this Carboot. I don't know how many Carboots we'll get for the rest of this year, so let's make the most of this one. Here we go then, a gloriously gloomy grey morning at Arminghall, the greatest Carboot in the earth, and you can see the car park is absolutely rammed, and we are straight in with a couple of cheap PlayStation 2 bangers. I think these games were like £1 each, and if they're complete with a manual, Destroy Humans hasn't got the manual, but here's a game I've been after for a while, Superman Returns, complete with the manual for £1. Yep, I'm going to pick that one up. Nothing else really to see here. The console I did leave behind. Heading on to the next store, we're on to the Xbox 360, and when I come to a store like this, yes, I'm going to try and build a bundle. So I'm going to go through a couple of these games, bundle them together, and hopefully we can get a good price. It's getting harder for me to find Xbox 360 games I need now. Over the past year or two, my Xbox 360 collection has absolutely jumped in size, just because, as I've said a million times before, now is a fantastic time to collect the Xbox 360, just because you can get so many cheap bangers, and honestly, these games are never going to get any cheaper. The only way the price is going to go on these games is up. So let's hope we can make ourselves a little bit of a bundle here and hopefully get a little bit of a deal, because bundling is always best when you're at the Carboot. Let's just hope this time the price is right.
How much are your games? £2.
So unfortunately this time I didn't manage to build a bundle, but I did pick one of these games up for just £2. Going through some of these bits here, some of these little tiny kind of flashcard games sell pretty well on Amazon if you're a reseller, or if this is a really cheap way to pick these up. I think these are normally like £4 to £5 on Amazon, and I think they were asking 50p for these here, or once again we could build a little bit of a bundle. So I did pick up a couple of these games for my wife, and I did pick this up for myself, this brand new and sealed VHS tape. Yes, it's a very, very niche thing, but I think I got both of these flashcard games and this sealed VHS tape for just £1. Bargain. We all know there are a very small amount of DVD box sets which you can pick up at the Carboot, which trade in for decent trading credit at CEX, and this must be one of them. Yes, he was asking £10, unfortunately. If I could have got this cheaper, this would definitely be one to pick up, so keep an eye out for this one. This is what we love to see at the Carboot. We're talking Mega Drive games, we're talking Master System, SNES, PlayStation 1, a little bit of everything. This is the kind of retro you love to see at the Carboot. But the thing was, this was a reseller, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because at the end of the day, they go out of their way to source the games, so you don't have to go searching for them. But when it does come to resellers, it does depend on pricing, and unfortunately this time a lot of the games here were around eBay prices, which, to be honest, when I'm at a Carboot, I am mainly out looking for a bargain. There was nothing super rare here, nothing that I couldn't pass up, that I wouldn't ever see ever again. If there was something here which I'd never seen, that I didn't think I'd ever see again, I'm happy to pay that price. But with a lot of the stuff here, it was fairly common, and to be honest, I'm a patient man. On a lot of these GameCube games, and especially Xbox 360 games, I will wait and find a deal. But at the end of the day, it's just nice to see some retro, and if you are a reseller, it's a great way to make some money while building your own collection. But sadly today, there was nothing I really needed for my collection. Sticking with the retro here, we have this Captain Scarlet giant card game. That's right, not a normal card game, a giant card game. Some Full Metal Alchemist DVDs, and also this Hobbit 3D box set. I always forget how big this is, but for me this is definitely the definitive way to watch the Hobbit films in 3D, the way they're intended. Moving on, and this is a kind of store I love because you never know what you're going to find. Obviously, some of the stuff is out on display here, but it's the stuff that's hiding in the boxes like this. This is really where you want to be looking. So we have a load of 2000 AD comics in here. Now, I do like this comic, but it's kind of a very specific time I like, around the early 2000s. But I did find a couple of really large D&D tabletop maps in here. I think I picked these both up for like 20p or 50p each, but if you're a D&D player, you can never have enough maps. Would you believe it? Even more retro. Here we have a Mega Drive console and an absolute stack of other retro games here. So you can see we have some Wii U, some Xbox One, some GameCube, even some old cassette-based tapes. Now, when it comes to these cassette-based tapes, I do not have the greatest knowledge when it comes to these, and it actually amazed me how expensive some of these games are. Like, because I don't have the greatest knowledge of these, normally I only pick them up if I can get them super cheap, because here's the problem. Somebody could be like saying to me, oh, this game's worth 15, 20 quid. Yes, it may be, but if I don't know that, I'm not going to pick it up. And the problem is, I'm just not very knowledgeable about what some of these games even are. Like, here's the thing with these cassette-based games. The artwork, I do not think represents how the actual game is. Yes, the artwork is absolutely incredible, but when we are talking kind of early 8-bit games, they do not really represent what it shows on the box. This for me epitomises what I love about car booting, the getting stuck in, finding a big bag of games like this and just hoping to find something either that you need for the collection for cheap or that you can flip into CX for decent credit. Now, unfortunately, I didn't find anything this time. I did taunt my wife I was going to pick up this lovely looking PlayStation chair, but she did say if I bought that I'd get a divorce as well. Comment below if you collected these football stickers back in the day. I dread to think how much I spent on stickers in general when I was back in school. I used to collect any book that had stickers. You can see that I picked up another D&D map. I can't believe lightning struck twice there. Loads of really good retro books in here, but unfortunately something I'm not very knowledgeable about, so I did pass, but let me know if I missed any bangers. Moving on, and you can see I'm making a beeline towards some games here. If I see Wii games, I'm going to jump in. Now, unfortunately, this time they were all shover games and the obligatory PlayStation 4 FIFA. Now, when it comes to Blu-rays, time of year is important. As you'll see here, my wife jumps in and grabs Coraline. As we lead up to spooky season, this one is trading for really good money. Back to another big box of games, and I just always have to look through these. At the end of the day, yes, 99% of the time there's going to be nothing in here, just those games that trade into CX for 1 or 2 pence, and the games that everyone already has in their collection. But if you haven't got a massive collection like myself, this is a great way to build a collection. Heading on, and a couple of wrestling figures here. I just like the late 90s, early 2000s WWE figures. I was tempted to pick up a couple of these, but it doesn't really show in the camera here, but they weren't in the most amazing condition. Another big bag of games here, and Skylanders. This is something I do not know enough about. I know there is a small amount of Skylanders figures that trade in for a decent amount, but I never know which ones they are. I think this is definitely something I need to do more research in, just because it's all the time I see massive Skylanders bundles at the Carboot, and I do sometimes wonder if it's worth picking them up. Was quite tempted by this little Crash Bandicoot light. There was randomly 2 of them, but I think they were asking £4 each for these. These are the kind of bits I love to put around the games, but only if I can get them for a decent price. These were just strange, these Van Helsing dolls, for lack of a better term. Kind of cool, incredibly niche, and pretty much personifies what the Carboot is all about. The fact that you just never know what you're going to find. One thing I love about video game collecting is variants, and again I was trying to build a bit of a bundle here with this June Blu-ray and a couple of other bits, but the one thing I did pick up is this copy of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, because I have never seen this copy of the game. And I love variants. When it comes to Call of Duty, yes, a lot of these are very much worthless now, but sometimes it's these variants that are worth picking up. Going through some more games here, unfortunately, I don't think there was anything here of great interest. Let me know in the comments below if I was wrong. I know there is some Harry Potter games on the PlayStation 2 that traded for some decent money, but unfortunately I don't think there was anything here. But that's the thing about the Carboots, as we all know, you always have to check, as you never know what could be lurking in one of these piles. I've never seen this game before. The sniper looked very, very generic and very much the definition of shovelware on the PlayStation 2. I was quite tempted to pick up Constantine, but I think he was asking £2 each on these games. Most of them were a little bit scratched. Most of them were missing manuals, so I did pass. If I could have made a bundle here, yes, I'd have probably picked a couple of these up. But when it comes to these more common games, to be honest, I can afford to be picky. Now, I love interesting controllers, but I think this is just kind of a generic retro PC joystick. I wasn't sure. For my money, it looked like it had a Mega Drive connection, but I couldn't see anything on here which said which console it was for, so I did pass on it. But this is the kind of thing I love, these really weird control methods. I just love anything a little bit different, or anything with a turbo button, such as these wireless controllers. I think these were also old PC ones, maybe. It's really hard with some of these to tell. But there we have it. That was another glorious morning at the Arminghall car boot. And normally we would take it back to the games room, but there is one other car boot on the way home that I also sometimes visit. The problem is, by the time I've got through the Arminghall car boot, this one is normally packing up, and this is kind of a direct competition to the Arminghall car boot. This one is on a local park and ride and is run by the council. Now, unfortunately, it has got a lot quieter in recent years. I just think because most people go to Arminghall, but sometimes you can turn up at the last minute and pick up a bit of a deal. I did manage to get a pretty hefty bundle of PlayStation 2 demo discs off here, which these are very niche again, but I love these demos. It's just great to go back and play just a bite-sized section of some of these absolutely incredible PlayStation 2 titles, because there's just such an incredible back catalogue for the PlayStation 2. I think I also picked up another game here, but I got about halfway down the lane and did realise there was no disc in there. That is a valuable lesson for everyone. Always check the discs. Sometimes when I'm in a rush, I will miss these. Thankfully, I didn't miss it this time. I did go back and swap it out for another game. So that is the end of the car boot. Let's take it back to the games room and go through some of the awesome pickups we found this time car boot hunting. Here we are then, back in the games room. It does seem unfortunate that the car boots are slowing down. The massive summer car boots are sadly a thing of memory as we move into the winter months and sadly the end of the car boot season. But that doesn't mean we can't still add some awesome bits to the collection. And straight off the bat, one of the first things we found was a couple of PlayStation 2 games. The first of which is Superman Returns. Now, this is a game I've been looking for a very long while. I would rather find the Xbox version, but for 50p, I didn't want to pass this one up, as it is a fantastic sandbox game, and to be honest, any game where you can fight a skyscraper-sized robot is a win in my book. The other game I picked up is the absolutely classic Destroy All Humans, so I got both these games for 50p each. Sadly, I already have Destroy All Humans in the collection, but it does trade in for 80p at CX, so at least it's a little win. Whenever I go to the car boot, I always try and make a bundle deal, but unfortunately it doesn't work all the time. So from all of those Xbox 360 games, I only picked up this one, Fast and Furious Showdown, and I have been loving the Fast and Furious films recently. I hadn't watched them for years, and I suddenly decided to go through all of them, and they are just good, dumb fun. I fully enjoy them, and if this game is anything like the films, I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it. I picked it up for £2, which is cheaper than it would have been in CX, and I'm just happy to add it to my Xbox 360 collection. I love retro items, I love new old stock, and I couldn't pass up this brand new and sealed VHS tape. I got this in a bundle with two other things for £1, but this just evokes such strong retro memories for myself of recording Saturday morning cartoons to watch them whenever I wanted. That was the retro feel that I get from this VHS tape. I am a big fan of video game variants. Whenever I see something I've never seen before, if the price is right, I'll pick it up. Such as this version of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Now, I've never seen this before. I think I picked this up for £1 or £2. It's kind of cool. It opens up and it has some art cards in there, and then this part also opens up and you have some more stuff in there. It just does have inside the standard version of the game. It is essentially just a game inside a slipcase. I don't really know a lot about this one, so if you do know anything about this specific version of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, let me know in the comments down below. But like I said, I just love me a variant. Finally, this time I did visit the other Carboot is in my area on a Sunday morning. Now, normally I will go to the Arminghall Carboot because pound for pound every week is a much better car boot, but normally I will stop at the Park and Ride car boot on the way home. But here's the thing, it normally pales in comparison to Arminghall, but I did manage to pick up a nice little bundle of PlayStation 2 demos while I was there for just £3. And to be honest, some of these have some of the most iconic games of the PlayStation 2, and sometimes you just want to play a little bit of these games, and these demos are a great way to go back and get what was an early impression of so many of these absolutely iconic games. One thing I love to pick up as well is, because not all magazines could have official demos, is DVDs. I just love going back and watching some of these vintage trailers. And you did see in the video I did pick up a different PlayStation 2 game. I did nearly miss the golden rule of always checking the discs, so I went back and picked up Lara Croft, Tomb Raider and the Angel of Darkness. Once again, £3 for all of these I think is a pretty good deal. There we have it then, folks. That was another episode of Game Hunting Live at the absolutely iconic Arminghall car boot just outside of Norwich. And it definitely seems like the season is slowing down, but I will keep going until the car boots stop for winter. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See y'all soon.